think it's critical that this committee continue its investigation into what we all agree. Let's make that clear. There are those on the panel here, apparently, not the panel, excuse me, thank you, panelists, but on our side of the room that have tried to divide, some of us have tried to divide us into those folks don't really want to clean up the IRS like we folks do. And that's a typical propaganda game, and I understand it. I want to stress your attempt at bipartisanship, Mr. Chairman. I think Democrats and Republicans both recognize that the IRS flagging applications is wrong. And we have a shared interest in working with you in a bipartisan way to find out what really happened and to fix it. I mean, if we're the problem, if we hadn't clarified what the test should be for these organizations, it's not the organizations, it's we that are at fault. And we need to change the test to see if that organization qualifies. But you ask everybody, you don't ask a few. So we agree on that. We don't need unsubstantiated, political, motivated, and irresponsible accusations against one another. We got to look at where the facts are. No one has a God-given right to a tax-exempt status. And none of the panelists said that that was contrary to that. The laws, government tax-exempt organizations, and 501c4s were created by Congress. It's us. If we've been derelict, then we got to change what the laws are. Period. And for us not to change the law would mean that this could happen with facility down the road to all kinds of issues and all kinds of groups advocating those issues. So I think we need to focus on writing clear rules. And should it be a test based on how much money you spend? Should it be time-based? After this debacle, we can't afford not to be specific. So I got some questions for the witnesses. Mr. Eastman, Chairman of the National Organization for Marriage, I believe. Correct, sir?
Yes.
Why did your organization not choose to become, and you don't have to answer this, but I'm curious. Why did you choose not to become a 527 organization under the tax laws?
Because that's not what we do under our organization. When we get particularly involved in political campaigns or those that support our cause, we set up political action committees as is required by the law and pursue that route. When we are pursuing purely educational functions, we use that through our nonprofit educational foundation, a 501c3. And for the activities that the tax code sets out as compliant with 501c4, we operate those activities under the 501c4 organization.
You and I both realize that if you're a 527, declare that. If you apply for that, that means your donors have to be what?
As is a political action committee, and we do disclose those donors. The non-political activity that we engage in from NOM itself, we follow the same rules that everybody else is.
So your organization chose to become a 501c4.
This particular one did.
Right.
That's
now,
right.
That organization has, like all other organizations in that particular category, have a test to go through. In other words, when you make an application, you have to comply to what are some stupid questions. We would both agree to that. But in the final analysis, that is information given to the IRS to determine whether you're eligible for that exemption.
That's correct.
Is that correct, sir?
Yes.
Now, some of the questions are going to go to that thin line we talked about before, and that is what is political and what is not political. And that's a tough question, isn't it, many times?
Well, the law oftentimes is clear, and there is no contention that has ever been made that our activities under the 501c4 are not appropriate for 501c4.
Well,
we have our 501c4
you're an issue-oriented organization. You have every right to profess what you believe in.
That's right, and to have our donors' confidentiality protected as the law provides.
But isn't there a question when it gets down to it, and we agree so far, when you're going to express that issue in what you believe in, and doing something overtly to demonstrate where you feel you're right and where this other organization, whatever it may be, is wrong. Doesn't it get to be a question of, is this political or not? I mean, your politics is different than my politics, and what is political to you may not be political to me. That's a tough question.
I don't think
answer briefly because time's expired.
I don't think it's tough at all that when we engage in the very same activity that the Human Rights Campaign engages in on the other side, that our donors are disclosed and theirs are not. It's a felony what happened to us. No such felony occurred against them, and it is not being prosecuted.
But Mr. Eastman,
Thank you. Time's expired.
No one has inferred